things can sneak up and happen quickly. And for me, it was like, I just had to come to the realization that it wasn't working for me.
What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the #1 mental health and addiction podcast, the Hopeaholics. I am your girl, Natalie Eva Marie, and these are my boys.
I'm Chad.
Hi, I'm Shane.
Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and follow us on our socials and wherever you get your podcasts.
Got a new episode dropping every Monday and Thursday. Please come check it out.
This episode is brought to you by the Infinity Group. You guys, if you or a loved one is suffering, please call us today. The number is right here on the screen. We are here for you 24/7. Now, let's get into the episode.
Are we live? All right. Well, Travis, welcome to the Hopeaholics Podcast.
Yes.
I was just telling Travis about the fire that was in my house and my wife having fire extinguishers all over. I do not recommend the ones that just those cheap little ones that it didn't do anything. Nothing.
Yeah.
So I had to get the real fire extinguisher, pull the pin.
Oh my God, was it just out of control mess?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting the mess that it made. I pointed it.
Were you all white?
Yeah, it all came down on top of my head.
Dude, getting that quick stop, though, like that's crucial. 'Cause it doubles every minute. And it's funny because people always say, like, what's rewarding for us? And there's so many small fires that we go and put out like that, maybe a couch, a mattress, things that never hit the news. Mm-hmm. And we give each other high fives. And you're like, bro, like, that's what you did. Like, that person's now sleeping inside of their house that night. That was the victory. The ones usually that hit the news are, you know, the trucks are on squirting all the water, and those are total losses. And again, they're fun, but they're really, like, a lot of the gratifying ones are the ones that you just kind of forget, those small little ones that, you know,
we slept in our house that night.
Yep.
Because I was able to get it out. They cut some holes, made sure that there was no fire anywhere else in the attic. Mm-hmm. And it was about, like, I want to say it was about 2 a.m. in the morning.
Ooh.
So the next day, my wife baked them some cookies and took them down.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, because, you know, firemen are always like the hot guys, right?
It is true.
I was going to say something.
Huh?
I was going to say
I
something.
went with her.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's no fun.
He's not an idiot. But I feel like no matter what.
Hang on, the firemen are coming. Let me do my makeup quick. We got a little fire going on. We got a little fire. Chad, can you handle the fire while I do my eyes?
No, I always.
You know
think
what I'm
that
saying, though?
Firefighters are you never hear anything negative, you know, like amongst them. I don't know. I feel firefighters are always universally.
I always drive better when I see a fire logo or a fire hat on the back of a car or back of a truck where I see, you know, I support the fire department. I just drive better.
I mean, I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's any stigma towards firemen?
Except sexual. No, I was saying, because that's the stigma, isn't it?
No.
And they do the
Like
calendar?
The calendar.
That ain't a
there's no
stigma.
calendar.
Not a stigma, but it's a
No.
thing. You know, women are expecting firemen to be when you say fire.
No,
Well, I'm sorry.
I don't think so at all.
Women are expecting the firemen to be in shape.
yeah, but I also expect my law enforcement and police officer to be in shape as well.
More so firemen, I think.
No?
I do.
No,
For me,
I
I
don't.
do.
But
I don't know.
But the stigma with cops is they eat donuts.
Yeah.
Right?
This is what I'm saying.
So
Firemen
Yeah.
are always like at the firehouse doing beast CrossFit type workouts, playing basketball. That's kind of like
waiting for the next
waiting
for the next
Next
call.
emergency,
That's how
yeah.
we think of you guys.
Yeah.
Is that true?
You know, so both of my brothers are both police officers for the city of Glendale. So we have a pretty healthy rivalry
Yeah.
going
That's
on
nice.
with it.
That's awesome.
But they're both super fit.
How old are they? Older or younger?
Yeah, so we're separate by 7 years. So I have my younger brother, 7 years younger. My older brother from my father, he lived with us since I could remember.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my brother.
Nice.
Yeah, so both for the city of Glendale.
Wow. And then you firefighter.
Yep. And no one in our family, no service, really no military that I can track down, no fire department, no police officers, and really none of us kind of talk to each other about it. My brother became a police officer and never sparked my interest. I got into it later. And then I guess my older brother had influence on my younger. But my younger brother actually, he started attempting to be a firefighter, and he became an ambulance operator. So basically he wasn't a full-time firefighter, but he lived and worked the schedule. And he came to me and he was like, bro, you guys wake up in the middle of the night. I'm over it. I'm going to
Yeah.
go. I'm going to
Yeah.
go to be a police officer, but he loves it. He's doing a great job. Both of them are awesome dudes.
How long or when did you start the process and like, okay, I want to be a firefighter. This is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, so the process, we go in waves. Right now, we have a lot of the baby boomer generation retiring. So there is a big push to get firefighters right now. So it is a really good time if that's something that you're interested in. And there's a lot of super cool services out there that help you get in there. But for me, it took about 4 years. They say anywhere from 3 years is quick. 5 years is when you're allowed to start getting frustrated. That's what they used to say, because when I was testing to be a firefighter, I mean, I drove to other states. I slept on fire station lawns just to get an application, and you get up to be the first 200 people, and then you show up and they're like, oh, do you have ABC credential? And you're like, no, that's not what it says in the flyer. And then they would just say, sorry, hand that application back. And so it was definitely a challenge. But yeah, I've been doing it for the city for the last 8 years.
Wow.
I was in the Vegas Valley for 2. And then I was a volunteer for the city of Paris for Riverside County for a whole year.
Wow.
And that actually leads me into my little bit of homework. So the views on this podcast are my own and do not reflect the official view or position of the Los Angeles City Fire Department.
I like that.
Because
Got to make sure you got to cover,
I love
important.
my city. I'm here to represent,
Yeah.
talk about my own experiences,
Totally.
what I've seen, the brothers and sisters that I work and serve with. Don't want to reflect anything negative on them. So
Yeah.
these are just my views, my experience, what I've seen.
And your journey and what you've had to kind of walk through and your process to what put you in that seat.
Tough job.
Currently today.
Tough job.
I like the fact that your brothers are cops.
Yeah.
This made this whole podcast for me like even
I see that little grin on
even
your face.
cooler.
I see the little grin you got going on right
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
because you got a rivalry going on
Yeah.
there,
We do.
and you get to talk some crap. What kind of crap can they talk about you? That's the question I want
Yeah.
to know.
Oh, I mean, cops versus firefighters is we're first responders. We show up and make the scene safe for you.
Yep.
That's a pretty good jab. I'll
Yeah.
give them that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it depends. If you call 911, depending on where you're calling it, right, it's going to go through a call service.
Yeah.
And basically, you're going to ask for a guy with a gun, a police officer.
Sure.
Or you're going to ask for anything else, right? So a lot of people think the fire department, all we do is just go out and fight fires. But no, all of us are EMTs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A lot of us are paramedics. So from an abdominal pain to heart attack to seizure to struggling with, a drug overdose is something
Yeah.
we do a lot of. Cutting people out of cars. You're trapped in an elevator, obviously a fire.
Yeah.
That'd be the worst.
So, I mean, there's a ton of different things. So the stigma is, I don't see that many fires on the news. You guys are hanging out,
Yeah.
baking cookies, taking naps, sleeping in your bunk
Working
beds.
out,
Yeah, working
chilling.
out. Yeah, so there's that. But there is a funny story between my brothers. So super proud moment. My brother's getting his badge pinned on. The way that they ran it is they ran it through a community college. So he went to his police academy. The guy kills it. I mean, literally for only wanting to do it for a year, everyone's pumped on him. His police chief is there. And, when you go to a graduation ceremony, we have Class A's. So they're like nicer uniforms. They're your dress uniform. So I'm in my Class A. Obviously, my older brother, proud. He's in his Class A. And I meet their chief of police, right? And, of course, I'm going to be respectful. But he's like, hey, man, we'll get you in. Like, let's get 3 Carlsons in a Glendale, badge. And so I told him, I said, sorry, man, one of us has got to be the good guy. And my little brother just got his badge pinned on him, and his face, he just goes white, and he's like, just looking at me like, how could you say that?
To the chief.
And
Yeah.
I mean, to their chief,
Yeah.
not my chief, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so we laughed and hugged it out, and he was like, no, you're doing a great job. And so after, my little brother's like, I can't believe you would say that to the chief, man. And I was like, look, bro, he's not my boss.
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
And he loved my younger brother. He was there to support him. I don't know if he goes for every single graduation ceremony, but super proud of the work they do. They're rad dudes.
Yeah.
That is awesome because his family is now starting, let's call it a tradition of sorts, because that is a tradition going into unions, fire departments, police departments. So it's going to influence his family for generations now, which is kind of a cool thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's influence.
Yeah, it's influence. Yeah, positive.
For sure.
Yeah.
I will say, I am a now as a healthy, tax-paying, recovering addict citizen. I am a fan of both departments. Obviously, there are bad eggs all the time, and who cares? You know what? The good that the good and I the good that outweighs the bad all the time. And I tell everyone that I am only sober because God sent his angels in the form of the Orange County Sheriff's Department to rescue me from myself. And if it wasn't for the Orange County Sheriff's Department doing their job, I would either be dead or still using.
Dude, that's powerful, man. That's powerful, I know a lot of police officers and even like firefighters out there, sometimes we don't get to see the other side. You take someone to the hospital, maybe we get told if you live or die, and especially police officers. So what a cool shout out for my family. I know they'll be pumped to hear that, because I'm sure when those things were happening to you, you were just like,
I wasn't loving them.
Yeah, you were not loving them, but they truly are doing their job out there. They're putting their life out there, and
Every day.
they see what gets to happen when the experiment fails, and a lot of people out there can run that experiment for a lot of time. They can recreationally use alcohol.
Yeah.
Some people can recreationally use drugs, myself included.
Sure.
I ran the experiment 1,000 times and I can't recreationally use alcohol. I ran the experiment and it just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And, so that's awesome to hear that you can now look at them as, community leaders. Cause I think, like you said, the most part, they're trying to do the best they can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, the two highlights of my podcasting career, right, was I got to have my drug court judge on this podcast.
He was at the event the other week, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So one of our friends was there, and you would have thought that he saw a celebrity. He took a picture with them and sent it to his wife. And Dave, awesome guy. He was like, dude, that guy changed my wife's life. Everyone looked at her like, throw her away, like she's lost. And that guy went out of his way and was like, no one's lost. Let's give you that shot. And now you look at their life, like if you didn't see it's a highlight reel. Awesome, beautiful children, own a rad clothing company. They have that Reborn clothing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So his wife. Yeah, I know who his wife is.
Yeah. So his
that's
wife had
amazing.
So same guy. And then I just thought, wow, look at this guy that's seen so much of people down on their luck and still comes to these events. Like hasn't got tired of it. You know what I mean? Like he came on his own time. Like. And then the same experience with you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a really, really cool individual. It
That's
just goes to show somebody that really cares not only about their job, because at the time, judge, but also wanting to see people, giving them that opportunity to soar and not feeling like they're just a piece of trash and can't change for where they're at. He's seen it countless times. Obviously, you're going to see it go the other direction. But it was cool at least to witness like him and him seeing the product of Chad, somebody going through his, entire process. That's what it's all about. But I want to know what for you made you, because you said that you can't recreational drink like normal people.
No, that's cool. Yeah,
So,
that's completely true.
What made you come to that realization?
So I guess we'd have to kind of back up a little bit. Growing up, I had the two ends of the coin, right? So I lived with my mother and father and my brothers, and my mother was, we lost her a couple years back, but she was a godly woman, just super strong, work until her hands bleed. I mean, man, like just carry the weight of the world on her. I mean, the ability to be so tired. And the biggest thing I miss about her is just being able to call and like, I just literally would just dump on her. It didn't matter if there was a line at the grocery store, I was losing my job. I could just dump on her, right? So I had this just strong, beautiful woman in the house. And my father was a meth addict.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
You know, so he was running and gunning. What I was told from friends and people that we saw as a kid, that, you know, he's a handsome, charismatic guy. He was the town drug dealer, you know, until the using got bigger than the sales.
yeah.
And so, you know, without going into the whole family business, but I mean, you know, if you've dealt with anyone with drug addiction, you know, it's the same thing that the kids see. But my side of the coin was pretty interesting, because it was like, here's the best example in the world, and here's the worst example in the world. And I've, you know, in the last 2 years kind of going through this journey, I've really like thought and meditated on that and been like, what did that kind of do for like my mental well-being? Like, where did that make me think I would go? And I guess the answer that I've come to is that I kind of deserved that path, and that eventually it was going to get there anyways. And so, yeah, just growing up, you know, that was kind of what we saw. And alcohol was never really my thing. You know, I don't have that story of being like that first drink, it hits my lips and I'm like, oh, this is it.
Right.
It was there, you know, high school, hanging out with, you know, the skaters and the guys that like music and things like that. But I always ended up getting like super busy, right? So I did martial arts as a little kid growing up, and that was the first time that physical fitness and like achievements. I mean, if you gave me a baseball, I can't hit that wall. Like horrible at team sports. But I got into martial arts, and it was like, dude, how long you been doing this? I was like, I just started. So I was good, and it was kind of that first taste of understanding like what was going well. And so that mostly through high school kind of led me to be pretty on the straight and narrow, because, you know, God bless him, but karate's pretty dorky. All that,
Right,
you know,
right.
it is. But what great role models, you know?
Yeah.
In that era, the 90s in karate, everyone had a ponytail.
Right.
I personally didn't. I'd like to put that out
I
there.
did.
No judgment.
You did karate?
No, I didn't do karate, but I had a ponytail.
Yeah,
Oh,
right on.
okay.
It's a strong look.
Yeah.
What years are these?
Oh man, so I probably started in.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For
94
sure.
probably
Yeah.
started.
Yeah, yeah.
Good times.
Yeah.
Damn.
Strong times.
67,
Yeah.
77, 87. Yeah.
I was already thug lifing it out on.
Really? I was at the bar. I was
not at
doing-
the bar.
I
Straight
was-
thug life.
Really?
Selling
God,
drugs.
shit,
Yeah.
man.
That was like
94.
Tupac era.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, just the classics.
Yeah.
The good stuff. I mean, good
Where
good era.
where were you raised?
In the San Gabriel Valley.
Okay.
Yeah, so not too far from here. You know, so
SGV.
yeah, so definitely, you know, you could go to one side where it could be, you know, you could be in Azusa, and it, you know, El Monte could get
Yeah.
a little rough, you know, but it's cool because all different cultures, cars, music, different dudes from the neighborhood, and then you could be in the Glendora Hills,
Totally.
and it's like just right there. It's much like LA. So yeah, you know, I stayed mostly out of trouble, but I always knew there wasn't money to go to college. No one in the family, like, I mean, really talked about. Everyone was just blue collar, and like, you know, not talking bad on them. I'm a blue collar worker myself, you know, but I kind of just knew that was going to be my deal. And then I ended up getting in a really bad car wreck, and I wrecked my shoulder, and then I ended up going to physical therapy. And for some odd reason, talking to the physical therapist, I just started reading what he was saying. And he's like, you're really interested in this. And he's like, maybe you should start looking into school. But really what had happened is California laws were changing. It was going from a master's program to a DPT. And I was like, to become a doctor? I was like, no, dude, like that's not me. I still didn't have a very high thought of like that I could ever be a doctor, you know? So he's like, dude, why don't you just get into personal training, get in the gym world. You love this. So saved up some money, ended up going out to this vocational school in Santa Monica, did really well. And lo and behold, if you read and do your homework, you get good grades and you excel. Just newsflash, right? Like, so now going, you know, being a studier, kind of really falling in love with that. And then ended up going to a company, like a high-end fitness facility called Equinox.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yep. So yeah, went and ran the personal training department there for many years at Equinox.
Which
And,
one?
I was at Pasadena.
Okay.
Yep. So went there and then got into firefighting. And I mean, those are two different stories.
Yeah,
I guess.
totally. Because I'm like, so you were running the personal training at Equinox, which is a fantastic, great gym. And then all of a sudden you decide to venture into
just get busy again.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of part of my story, like
Sure.
with the alcohol is always just getting busy, right? And like that's what just saved me, was just always getting busy, always getting hyped up on that next thing, and going back to being like, I mean, martial arts ingrained a lot in me. It was great. It was like, this is how you achieve what you need to achieve. Here's the discipline and the structure, and here's the rank. It doesn't matter who you are, you just obey it, right? And that's set a really good foundation. So when I have a goal, right? So I was at the gym, everything was going well. And in terms of like money wise, you know, for my family, I was killing it. So in my early 20s, I had a nice car. Me and my wife were living together in Pasadena. Things were going pretty good. So I went, and I was going to be giving a presentation to about 50 or 60 people. I did like a monthly meeting for all the trainers in different clubs. And one of my trainers runs in, and she goes, "Hey, there's someone bleeding in the parking lot. Can you come and help?" And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, but as a personal trainer, you're like AED certified. Like you take a CPR class 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I didn't have medical gloves.
Yeah.
I'm like, sure, I can do it. And this trainer at the time, she was, you know, always kind of hype stuff up. So you're not really knowing what you're going to do.
Sure.
So we get down there and we go in the parking structure and find this lady. She's probably maybe 50, 55 years old. And she's face down in a pool of blood.
Oh my goodness.
Looking back, what I think happened is she was a hit and run. Right? So someone's already on the phone on 911. And now knowing what I know, she was basically had agonal respiration. So the brain was pretty much just breathing on her own, maybe 1 to 4 times a minute. And she was already gone. But to me, as an untrained individual, I'm like, she's sucking in the blood that's on the ground, right?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to kind of take myself back as just being a normal guy that has no medical training, right? So I get on the phone and I'm like, hey, like we got to move her. So they kind of walk me through that process. And finally, you know, the fire department shows up. Not even finally, it was fast. It was Pasadena Fire Department. And one of the biggest things that I saw and just noticed was these dudes got out and they just went to work.
Yeah.
They didn't talk to each other. They just knew their job. And it was awesome. And then they loaded her up and then they got her going. And in the next couple days, I kind of took it pretty hard, you know, and I guess the average person, myself included, would think that you saw something gory, so you're upset. And that's what I kind of thought it was. And so I was like, man, I'm kind of having a rough time. I don't know why this like kind of hurt me a lot. So I called an old next door neighbor that was actually, funny, going back to Glendale, a Glendale firefighter. And I said, Kevin, what's up, man? And he's like, oh, good hearing from you. And I said, hey, this is what I saw. What do you think? I was just reaching out to a mentor. And he goes, dude, why don't you just come down to the firehouse? Just see what we do, and we'll talk about it. This is what we do. We hang out together, right? So I show up with not a thought in the world that I was going to do this job. I remember calling him and being like, what do I wear? He's like, just wear like Dickies and boots. I'm like, cool. So I show up, boom, bell rings, car fire, right? And I see Kevin across the street. I feel the heat of the fire. And I was like, man, this guy's just a badass, dude. That was freaking cool, you know? And then later on in the day, we're eating, the guys are working out, we're hanging out, and we show up, and a guy, unfortunately, attempted to take his own life on his front porch. So he shot himself in the head with a 22.
Wow. But
he's still breathing. And they're like, hey, jump in the back, right? So they're like, do you want to help? And I'm like, yeah, I want to help. So I'm laying at his head. And, you know, it's pretty split up. And they're like, hey, I need you to grab all this and just squeeze it tight. And they're like, if you think you're squeezing tight, it's not tight enough. And I'm looking down and I'm like, okay, here it is. Blood, guts, gore. Like, are you going to freak out? And it was cool, right? They're walking me through it. And then again, these guys in the ambulance, you know, my old next door neighbor, like mentor, he was the guy with a boat and a pool, you know, like the cool guy in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
He's doing the same thing. He knows what to do. He's just killing it. We get to the trauma center. We get to watch some of the surgery that's going down, the infusions. And I go back home and my wife's asleep. I well overstayed my welcome. I hung out till midnight. I wouldn't stop talking to these guys. And I was talking to her, and, you know, all credit to my wife. She's like, maybe you didn't get affected by the blood. Like, do you think that you got affected because you didn't know what to do? And I was like, oh, shoot, that's it. I felt helpless. I felt help. I felt
that's cool that his wife had that.
Yeah, what good insight, huh?
dude. My wife is
Right on.
the
Good
most
for you.
She's the most badass woman that
Good for you,
just
bro.
like my mom.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the
That's
godsend
who
of it
we
all.
marry,
Yep.
Mom.
Yeah, just strong, independent woman, just badass
Yeah.
lady. Yeah. So yeah, I really thought on that, and I just kind of started thinking back, and then all of a sudden it was like, yeah, it wasn't that lady dying, and I don't want to sound insensitive, but that's not what bothered me. It was feeling helpless.
Yeah.
It's like I want to help, I didn't know how, and then other men came in and had to help me, right? And so I went back to work the next day, and I was like, this job is cool. I love it. I'm helping people. But as I was moving up the corporate ladder, I was less working with people and I was more working with numbers. And then it was like, no, I was on my computer, how to become a firefighter. I mean, it just was, that's what happened.
Nice.
And so, yeah, then I just took off, did all the schooling, did everything I possibly could. Like I said, I moved out of state for a little bit to get my resume up. I was in the Vegas Valley for a couple of years and then finally landed the dream job. That was my number one, where I landed, where I wanted to work, busy, everything. And yeah, so that's kind of how we got the foot in the door there.
What is the physical fitness like kind of requirement or test that you guys have to go through and pass? It's like X amount of like being able to run up X amount of stairs with a certain amount of weight or something.
Yeah, so every city, county, they all use different tests. We use the CPAT, which is like standard, and it's actually like a third party. So yeah, they put on a certain amount of weight on you, and you do like a stair mill, and then you pull hose, and then you have like a little prop where you crawl around in the dark, and then you raise some ladders and carry some chainsaws. But that's just to basically be certified to even like take the test.
Oh, okay. So you have to. That's cool to know. I didn't know that. So
The only thing in that list I did was pull hose.
What?
I just said it. That's all. That's all.
Yeah.
What?
The only thing on that list I did was pull hose. It was a joke.
Shane.
You got it. I was just trying to break it up a little here. That's all.
No, derail. I'm interested in
know,
like
so
the.
am I look at all this stuff, man. It's a fucking nightmare to become. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's why I'm like
Yeah,
learning
man.
that. So you have to,
So
in order to even take like the written test, you have to pass this section first.
So you can take the written test, but basically like upon appointment, they say basically like being hired.
Okay.
You have to have your EMT.
How long does that take to get an EMT?
Generally depends if you do it in community college or
Okay.
like a different school. It's anywhere from 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
And that's the base level of it. And then if you go further, then you become a paramedic.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's the base level. And then you get hired. And if it's a smaller city, they would require that if you did your own private fire academy, maybe through a college, like I did personally. But bigger cities like the one I work for, we have our own. So then you have a 5-month, what they call the drill tower.
Okay.
And then that's physical every day.
Wow.
So there is like a standard and a card you carry in your wallet that says like, I can take the test, but really the test comes once they roll the dice and put you in the uniform.
And then is it basically everyone individually and then it's timed, or how do they kind of do
Yeah.
the
So
test?
the original one for the card for the CPAT, yeah, that's you pay your money, you stand in line.
Wow.
And then there's an instructor, they tell you what to do. And then once it starts, they can't really tell you.
Same
but
for girls, same for guys.
yes. Yep.
That's awesome.
Same standard.
That's awesome. I like that.
Yeah, it's incredible.
You're saving lives. You have to have a standard, and you can't sway.
Yeah, of
you know what I
course.
mean? I mean,
Yeah.
at least that's not changing.
No, definitely. And like I said, we had, I think 8 or 9 females in my training academy, and we had some really strong women that were in there, one of the physical, we would do kind of CrossFit style workouts in the morning because it just goes so well with what we do. And, I like to push myself.
Sure.
And one of my classmates, Carrie, she's like a CrossFit like competitor. She's just a nut. So the guy that would run our training would always pair us up. So like man and woman, we would just smoke on people, which was like super fun.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, there's definitely some strong women out there that are doing it. Cause yeah, like Shane says, the tools don't get lighter.
No, they don't.
The hours don't get shorter. So it definitely is a physically demanding job, but it's fun.
Yeah, but we're making exception for that rule in a lot of other things in today's world. That's the only point I was making. But I'll tell you something. I had a neighbor who's a fireman, 4 days on, 4 days off, or 4 on, 3 off. He was a big drinker, and I talked to him about that, and he told me, just the time to himself was really difficult. How was it with you? You got 4 days on, 3 days off, or how do you guys work it?
So a lot of us use, we in a big city, we do overtime, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the traditional schedule, what you work is the minimum, which not a lot of people do. There's mandatory overtime that's required of you, but the traditional schedule is 1 on, 1 off, 1 on, 1 off, 1 on, 4 off. So that equals 10 24-hour shifts, 240 hours a month. But majority of us end up working 3 to 5 additional overtimes a month. So for me, there isn't a time that I'm gone. I'm at the firehouse with my brothers and sisters for 50% of my life.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so I'm there with those people just as much as my family.
How does your family juggle with that?
Again, got to say, my wife, you know, she's the road dog. She handles it. Her father was LAPD,
Okay.
and then the rest of her family was military. We never really talked about it, you know. Always just had a strong relationship, and never. I mean, I asked her, you know, and she knew how hard it was to get, so she saw it coming. But, you know, with 2 little kids at home, she's a single mom half the month.
Sure.
And having a strong, independent woman that
Huge.
appreciates it, I mean, I couldn't do it. Like, I was thinking a lot on even coming, talking to you fine folks, you know, like, I have so many stories where it's like, this was easy for me. This was easy for me. This was easy for me. And a lot of it is because of my wife.
Oh, for sure.
You know, a lot of the problems that happen because there are people that go home and, you know, maybe need a little bit of rest, and the wife or husband is like, hey, I need a break too, which is rightfully so.
Sure.
But you're smoke tired, and yeah, you know, that can cause some friction. So if you don't have that like solid stone at home, like, it can be challenging, but it's like me and my wife are on the same page morally, our values, everything. So I know who's raising my family, you know, and she stays at home, which is a true blessing, you know. But yeah, that's definitely, I think that's probably the most challenging thing of the work that we do.
Is the time away from home?
Yeah. You know, when people say thank you for what you do, I think they envision me standing on a roof, cutting a hole with fire coming out of
Sure.
it. And it's like, I want to do that. Like, if you, like, that's what I want to do, you know? Like, you're really saying thank you for missing Christmas and birthdays and calling in the morning and saying, hey, I got to stay.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's probably the most challenging thing. But like I said, you know, everyone gravitates to a different shift or a different station. They all have different personalities. And once you find, your spot just with your bros, it's fun, you know? And then I come home, my wife's like, hey, do you want to have people over for dinner? I'm like, I just got out of a frat house. I'm good. Like, I just want quiet family time. Like, we just had jokes and pranks, and we cooked together and messed with each other for 72 hours. It's like, I just want to be mellow.
Yeah.
You know?
How many people are in your station?
So mine, we have a truck, which we call a light force. So it's a fire truck. That's the one with the big aerial ladder on it with another fire engine that follows that. It's called the light force. So that's 6. We have a fire engine that rolls independently. That's 4. And then a paramedic ambulance. So yeah, so 12 with us. It can go as much as 2 ambulances, 3 ambulances. So you can have stations with 16 or 18, especially when you start adding in like hazmat or urban search and rescue. And it could be as small as 4. You could have a station that just has 1 fire engine there.
Oh, wow.
So you kind of get different vibes, you know, and everyone gravitates to what?
So there's 12 working at your station at one time.
Yes.
But how many total people work at that station to cover all your shifts?
Yeah, so 3 shifts, so 36.
36? Mm-hmm. Wow.
So
And everybody's on rotation?
Do you get to see everybody, or do some of the people, I mean, certainly when you have overtime.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we can also trade shifts too. So a lot of us do that. We have some guys that work at
Oh, okay.
The guys work at or they live out of state, excuse me. So yeah, you can trade. So basically the way that it works, if all of us had the same qualified position here at the table, we could divvy up our schedule. And as long as that person with that qualification is going to sit in that seat, the city's like, no harm, no foul, which is a really big benefit to us. So you can, you know, you obviously have vacation days, but you can also trade. So yeah, I mean, at any time, I mean, we even have a term for it. It's called picture day. And that means everyone's there. It's just rare. You know, it's always someone's doing something, you know? So yeah, you're working with 36 personalities, if you will, you know, and everyone's tired and hungry at different times. And You know, so yeah, it's just like working at a big frat house, but
Sure.
I wouldn't change
But
it.
you become family.
You do.
I mean, we have that here. There's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 of us. 10 for sure. Well, all the time. Anyways,
Yeah.
we've got it. And I mean, Shane gets grumpy sometimes. Natalie was on one last week sometime.
It was one day.
I've never.
I was tired.
I haven't heard it just as a listener, so you know it's
It's insane.
it's hidden.
And they
It's
like,
hidden well.
They like to bring it up fairly quite a lot.
I can be grumpy as a motherfucker depending on what's happening with the business, you know. I get punched in the face a lot in this business, you know. Being in the drug and alcohol treatment industry is a lot of people are like, what an amazing whatever. The business side of it sometimes pretty gnarly, pretty rough.
I couldn't imagine for the people like the insurance
That
has to go into it right.
It's gnarly.
People that are possibly trying to maybe avoid jail time, or people that you're working with that want help but not at the right time. I mean,
It's never a dull moment.
It
It's
doesn't
kinda
sound dull,
It's kinda
yeah.
like a firehouse. I mean, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You guys are here often, to be honest with you. At least 2 to 3 times a week. We know the Orange County Fire Authority, San Juan Department here very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
did you start? Because you had mentioned that you don't drink. So when did that start to trickle in? And like, how long have you not picked up a drink?
So I'm coming up on 20. I didn't count out 21 months, so 2 years
Wow.
of not having a drink. It was actually something that, again, like we were talking earlier before we turned it on, about ego, that I was like, I don't want to come on here and talk because I had this ego, right? I had this example in my head of like probably coming back to my father, right? Where it was like, that's traditional rock bottom. And like, how dare you come on and like tell people what to do, you know, if you didn't have this. But, you know, I'm not speaking for where I specifically work, but in the first responder community and a lot of like veterans and stuff, you know, things can sneak up and happen quickly. And for me, it was like, I just had to come to the realization that it wasn't working for me, you know? And so, yeah, I got this job, and like I said, it was the dream spot I wanted to be. And for me, having a small little house, I had a pool in the back, my wife staying at home, it's like, I would look at my son and say like, bro, like if I was friends with you, you would be the richest kid I know. Right. And so like I made it and I was grateful for it. Right. And still am grateful for it. But there's some sense, at least the way my mind works, is like, I made it. Right. And not that I'm awesome and I'm a firefighter and give me a high five. It's just like personally, like I didn't really have the next step in mind, and my busy mind is going to fill that with either positive or negative. And every time something negative would creep in, I would get another goal. Right. And so kind of right after, you know, our probationary year, so it takes about 1.5 years before you are a full-time member. And then, you know, like Shane was talking about, you know, you have those times off, and we work odd schedules. So if you're going to come home and have drinks in the morning, that's normal. Who's gonna tell you that that's not normal? Like, that's totally fine. Like, I just worked 48 hours in a row. Like, I could drink in the morning.
Sure.
Like, I go and help other people, right? So, like, again, ego.
Yeah.
Right? So it starts creeping in on your time off. And then, you know, sensitive topic for a lot of people, but, you know, COVID happens. And in our city, no matter where you land, it was a challenging time, right? There's people that are on, and I have feelings, you know, warm feelings for people on both sides, you know, like, hey, I have a sick family member. I want you to get vaccinated and protect, and you should be protecting the city. And other people were like, hey, maybe this isn't for me because of a medical condition or a religious thing. And so really, without going into the grand detail of that, there was a lot of division in the city. It was a hard time. You know, had young kids, they weren't going to school. Me and my wife are looking, hey, are we going to stay in California? So I start thinking, am I going to give up the spot that I'm at? Am I going to go to another state? Am I going to go back to a previous industry? So you know, and it's not where I work. It's me. You know, I was dealing with stress poorly. I really was. And going back, how was I taught to deal with good events? Well, people around me got loaded.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you deal with stress, which is mostly what I saw?
Yeah.
You get loaded, right? And without making a conscious decision, it just became more and more. And yeah, you know, just kind of started going down that path. And next thing I know, you know, the morning drinks are a little bit more prevalent to kind of just unwind, take a nap, and then go hit the gym hard, like just tear it up, right? And then you'd be like, okay, I just got done with the gym. I won't have any more drinks tonight. And then, you know, you end up doing it. And then you go to work, and the problem definitely didn't get exacerbated, thank God, for my job, because I'm there 15 days out of the month. So like I'm mandatory sober 15 days out of the month.
Yeah.
But it was getting to the point where I was making up for it on the other 15 days, you know? But again, my ego is talking to me. It's screaming at me. It's telling me, you're not hitting your wife. She's not kicking you out. You don't call off sick the next day. This isn't a problem, right? And it just, you know, and really it wasn't even just the ego of that. It was the ego of like, you'll eventually get to that rock bottom that you've seen, right? And it was just this arrogant, just terrible mentality that like people that have a problem, like it's this rock star fantasy. You're going to have a needle hanging out of your arm. I'm going to be caught jumping out of a helicopter with cocaine on my back.
Right.
And, you know, like, you know, or like court ordered, like you shall go. And,
Yeah.
and I guess if I really thought about it, I probably thought that it could have happened to me, or I was going down maybe a similar path. But, I couldn't say I had a problem because it was just the ego. And yeah, it just started to really kind of affect what I was doing, and talked to my wife a little bit about it and was kind of playing around with the idea. But every time I was running the experiment, like, hey, okay, you're only going to get drinks when you go out, or hey, you're only going to have drinks on one day a week. It failed every time. It just didn't, you know, moderation. It just didn't work for me. And one particular morning, I'm just driving. I got a 2-hour commute in, and normally I'm listening to a podcast or music, and it's just super weird. You know, I was driving down, and I saw a billboard. I saw a lottery sign, right? And it's kind of goofy story, but I see that, and I'm sure all of you guys have seen the lottery sign and start playing the game, right? Like, what happens if I won 800 million, right? And so I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to buy that, I'm going to do this, and then I feel bad, and I'm like, okay, I'll help this person. I'll give a little bit of money to this person. And I'm playing that game maybe for 10 minutes in silence. And then out of my mouth, speaking out loud, I just said, God, if I had that much money, I would never drink again.
Wow.
And it just spit out of my mouth. Like I just said it. And I promise you, it wasn't one of those where you're hungover and you're like, God, if you have me stop puking, I won't drink again. It was, if I had this much money, I would be happy and I wouldn't need this. And it just like gave me goosebumps. I was thinking, it made me nauseous. Like, what am I missing? Like, what is this stealing from me? Like, why am I unhappy? Like, why am I ungrateful? Like, how dare you? So I get into work and see the boys. We're going to smash a workout. Everything's good. Kind of put that feeling aside. We're going to run upstairs, suit up. And we talked about my schedule. So it's either on the front end or the back end, right? So I'm either going to go home the next day or I'm going to work 3 days straight. My right foot hits the stair, and I was like, oh, how many days am I on? I'm like, oh, I'm off tomorrow. And again, out loud, out of my mouth, I'm going to get throttled when I get off tomorrow morning. It came out loud. And it just was like, okay, like what's going on? So literally I went upstairs, missed the workout, you know, and literally just got on my bed and prayed and said, God, that's twice that you made me talk out loud, like pretty weird. Like, what's going on? You know, like what do you want from me? And clear as day, I had this vision that I was out, you know, just wading in the ocean and waves were crashing on my head. And, you know, God said to me, he goes, hey, like you're holding on, you're doing a good job, but the next wave that hits you in the head is going to hold you under. And it might not be today, It might not be tomorrow. Maybe it's 10 years from now. I don't know when that is, but it's going to hold you under. And your sick fantasy of needing all these chemical interventions and all these things, you're going to get it. All these things, all these rock bottoms. So it's my way right now, or it's your way. And I'm the guy that's going to tell you, I told you so. And that was when it really just got put on my heart, that this isn't working for me. And I'd like to say that it was just a big, happy story right after that, but it was several months of struggle. But that's really where it planted in my head, and I go home and I tell my wife that story, and I'm like, hey, do you think I have a problem with drinking? And again, to her credit, I think she just knows me really well and allows me to like work things out. And she's like, well, do you think you do? That's the worst from the person, your best friend,
right?
Instead of being like no or yes,
Sure.
right? Like maybe I would have been mad.
Yeah.
And we had just put new grass in our front yard. I worked a bunch of extra days for this expensive turf,
Yeah.
And it's because I live in Canyon Lake, and me and gardening and man.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, I spent a lot of money on this turf. My kids are playing out front. Sun's going down, shining on my face. It's a great time. I'm having a heart-to-heart with my wife. And I literally am just riddled with anxiety. And I go inside and I pour myself a giant glass of whiskey, and I come out and I'm like, okay, now we can talk. And the relief just pours over me. And now all of a sudden I'm emotional.
Mm-hmm.
I'm available. I'm talking. I'm like, oh yeah, like I probably do have a problem, let alone, yeah, you have a drink in your hand, big dog. But there was times like that. And so basically it wasn't until kind of putting 30 days together to where you start realizing that you have emotions, that you have feelings, and that you're passing by your favorite restaurant, you're coming home stressed from work, and it's a challenge that you're like, oh my gosh, like until you kind of found sobriety that like you didn't know like that you had an issue. You know what I mean? And so it took several different, times and events, and eventually it just led into Christmas morning a couple years ago, going to my aunt's house, all my family's there. And it wasn't even gnarly. I didn't even get out of control, but I just had so much anxiety around the people I love, and shot down the liquor store, mixed up a little whiskey and Coke Zero, and sipped on that all day and stayed even. I was always the guy that could drink a lot, but not be out of control, and no one knew. And again, that's when just went home and was praying and was just like, this is disgusting. Like from this moment forward, like I refuse to let alcohol take one more second away from my family. My kids are opening up Christmas presents. I'm there with my family. Everyone knows me. Like, why would you have anxiety here? Like, why would you not just have gratefulness? I can tell you how many days extra overtime I worked to provide those presents, time away from my family, and I just allowed it to steal it from me. That was the last one. So yeah, day after Christmas was the last drink.
Nice.
Wow.
I like it, man. I like it because it's inspiring. And you don't have to go to and I just say that, I feel like I just said this the other day on a podcast. You don't have to become a stage 4 alcoholic to realize you have a problem.
Oh, I totally agree. And you hear it all the time, like in meetings and things where those types of events might not have happened, but they call them yets, not happened yet.
You're eligible
so
too.
it's like, yeah. So to me, it's really great for people to hear your story, because you don't want to have to go to the depths of hell and lose everything and make everyone around you that you love miserable and just go through all the just hoops and all the things to actually come to the conclusion. But I think what you touched, or at least what I picked up from your story, is what I hear from servicemen, firefighters, policemen, military, where you guys are seeing a lot of things that regular civilians aren't seeing on a day-to-day, and it's very difficult to navigate those emotions. And instead of facing whichever they are, whether it's good or bad or things of that nature, it's you immediately kind of cope. So that way you guys are known as like, the tough guys. You guys are the ones that handle solution. You got this, you're strong, you're there, and you take care of not only whatever scene you're at, but also handling when you go home to put on this like facade. So I've seen a lot just turn to the bottle or to a drug to kind of either numb that coping or to forget about it or whatever kind of, and then it obviously unfortunately kind of sometimes trickles way too far down and then things end up kind of blowing up. And I think for you, from what I'm hearing, is like, thank goodness that you didn't allow that, because obviously it sounds like your wife is just a badass, like a true blue. I always say power of partnership is so imperative, like who you pick to rock with you the rest of your life, because it's your teammate. You know, you want them to be your support and also call you out and be supportive for whatever way you want to go in life. So I think for you to make that distinction early on before the yets happened in your life is huge.
Well, thank you. You know, I appreciate it. And that was something, you know, when I reached out to Shane, it was like that. I struggle with even thinking like, are you worthy to come on, you know, the show? And I hear these stories, these men and women that are just these true awesome survivor stories. And again, it's just the ego got me in trouble, and it's like I need to drop it. You know?
Yeah, because why not you? Why not you?
Yeah.
Why not you to share your story? Why not you to share where you've been, what you've accomplished, and where you're going?
Yeah, and not only that, our show is not just about addiction. I mean, we are addiction, mental health, and health based. And you are the perfect candidate for our show because you do online coaching. You're a fireman. You stay in shape. You work on yourself, not just your physical self, but your mental self all the time. It's exactly what we're looking for. You know, it's exactly what we want our listeners to hear. Because this thing that we're doing, that we joined a part of, this Recover Out Loud movement, it's not just about like, hey, you know, I had a problem and now I don't. It's like, how are we dealing with life on life's terms today? You know, and one of the ways that we deal with it, for us, it starts at the gym every day. You know, it starts with the food that we put in our body. It's the fact that we the stuff that we listen to, you know.
Praying.
The spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
It's this
Absolutely.
whole lifestyle thing that we that we portray.
I guess try to.
That we want people to. I mean, we don't portray it because
No.
we actually are doing it.
Just talk about so
about
that people
and-
hopefully can grab on a little glimmer of something, whatever that might be. And what we're noticing is that every individual, to some degree, do the same thing.
Everyone does. Like the when you had the Queens, you know, it's funny. Me and the buddies were sitting in the back, and we were like, if you put all of us in a room, bar is a bad example, but
Sure.
in a room,
Yeah.
you know, we would all look like we weren't friends.
Right.
But every single person there has such the same story, you know. And then you listen to people that are successful,
Mm-hmm.
and they have the same story. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, yeah, that was something that I was talking to a buddy about, you know, that's in recovery, did the whole AA thing. He's one of my mentors at work. He's actually one of the first guys that I told, because in the beginning of this, I actually told the guys at the firehouse that I was just trying to get really ripped,
Sure.
you know?
Yeah, because of the stigma behind it, thinking that there is like I feel a weakness or something that is maybe not.
There's a couple
looked
of
upon,
things.
you know?
You
Like-
know, there's a couple of things. Sometimes people are like, "Oh, you're weak because you have a problem with it," or you start to tell people that you're sober, and they're like, "Oh, now this motherfucker's going to try to get me
Right.
sober."
Yeah.
Sure,
You know,
sure.
and-
And have
and that's not-
weird, like,
Yeah.
I can't have a beer with
Yeah.
this fucking guy around. When it's like, no, it's like,
Yeah.
have nothing to do with others, you know?
But really examining it for me too, like, because I thought about it, like, why would I not? Like, I mean, we've seen the gnarliest stuff together, these
Yeah.
people that I work with, right?
Yep.
And like, why couldn't I have told them?
Sure.
And I mean, part of it too is accountability, right?
Yeah.
Like, no one wants to
Yep.
to call your shot. No one wants to point out to, you know, go, I'm gonna smack this one out of the park. So it was just easier for me. And then so now I'm kind of living that lie a little bit, you know, hey, I'm just trying to get in really good shape, and this is why I'm doing it, right? And then, yeah, you don't talk about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's like, it's what everyone here is doing, why it's so important. You know, it's like I envision it like, you know, we're all trying to get to the other side of this like mountain, you know? And in my ego was like, I wanted to climb the mountain, almost freeze to death, get on the other side, and then come back and rescue everyone, right? That was who I wanted to be. Mm-hmm. But it's like, God's like, hey, bro, I found a cave. Let's shoot through this mountain, right? And now I'm coming back and I'm like, are you going to let all these people starve and freeze to death? Are you that arrogant that you can't check yourself? Are you that arrogant you don't think your story like matters? So it's like, no, dude, I'm going to check myself. I'm going to come out there and say, I was not living the life that I wanted to. I was not being the man that I should be for my wife and who my children deserve. And I did find a daily process that works for me. I did see these things coming. I'm not going back. And if you want to cruise through, here's the easy way. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people are stuck at the top, and God bless them, like recovery centers helping them. But I think there are a lot of people out there that are just not yet drowning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That need that time where it's like, bro, we can do this. Like, come through the easy way. Like, please. And like I said, I had it easy. The higher power like talked my own voice to where it like shocked me. You know what I mean? Like, and it's, again, I'm not here to tell anyone like what they should believe, but you know, I'm a man of faith. And you start asking the right questions, you're going to get the answer. You're going to trip over a book. The TV commercial is going to be on.
Mm-hmm. The Hopeaholics Podcast is going to show up in your freaking feed.
It's going to show up, right? Mm-hmm. It really is.
It happens all the time. We get all these messages from people that they're like, oh my God.
You said my name.
Not that one.
Oh.
That one we do intentionally.
Okay.
But the other that works though. It's kind of like
work.
that one works.
Yeah.
Sometimes when we do our live videos, we just
don't tell a secret. Don't tell a secret, bro. What are you doing, man?
No, now we
but
got.
It's true. If your eyes are open and your ears are available, like sometimes
we're looking
little signs are literally going to pop up
right
and
away.
You just have to be ready
God's
to
looking.
grab them.
Yeah, I want to ask you something.
Yes, sir.
A lot of depression, a lot of drinking. You know, it's a tough job. It's a high pressure job. Like you said, you see a lot of gnarly stuff with the guys. What are you guys doing on a daily basis? Or say you see something, are you taking action? Like what are the action steps you guys have each day? Or is it just we see something, then let's get help? Or is it just staying with God all day, staying? You know.
So is that as like the people I see at the firehouse or me personally?
No. Say you're on a call, someone's dying, bleeding out.
Yep.
They're in a car. You're using the jaws of life to get them out. You get them out. There's blood. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you get over that? You used to drink it away.
Yeah, I mean, you do that. I mean, I think any like service member, we have a really dark sense of humor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so like things that just would never be able to be repeated out of that community. So you're kind of, we're joking in a way that you're checking in with someone because we know, just like if you have a brother or wife or husband or whatever, like if you need to get on their nerves, you know how to do it. Right.
Yeah.
So in that same sense, like if we're joking and, you know, Jeff at the house is not joking, you kind of know and pull him aside. But for the biggest thing, I think it's we get to spend so much time together that you will know someone's habits.
Yeah.
Like my brothers at the firehouse could make my lunch for me the way I want.
Yeah.
Right. And I could text their wife.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
I know
Yeah,
and I know their kids, right? And if someone's missing a workout or is an overtime hound and isn't working, we really like see that. If something's super critical, there are things in place where we do have like crisis intervention and people to speak with. We have in-house firefighters that are certified to talk to. There's ones you can go out. I mean, they're piloting like a therapy dog that one of our chiefs is doing.
Wow.
And the good thing I will say about the fire service right now, if you do come out and say you have a substance abuse problem and need help, you can do that without repercussion of your job.
Wow.
As long as you're coming first, right? You need to be the one that's saying, hey, like this is happening. I need help, you know? And it's like, yeah, there's no shame.
Yeah.
Like you wanted to do this job. You wanted to help people out because you want to bring calm to chaos. Well, maybe you got a skinned elbow and let's patch you up. Like no big deal, bro.
Yeah.
Like we got you. You know what I mean? Like,
Nice.
That's
just like
good.
if someone's trapped in that car, if Chad's trapped in that car, I'm not gonna be like, what an idiot.
Yeah,
Can't
yeah.
believe that guy. No, it's like, bro, I got you, dude. I am trained. I'm super pumped to get you out of here. Like, that's what I want to do. And it's like, I don't care. Army, police, fire, people never give credit to like nurses,
Yeah.
doctors, right? People that are seeing these things all the time, or just anyone that's dealing with normal
Sure.
stress. It's like, dude, if you feel like you're getting broke, you're getting held down, it's like you have to reach out, because hopefully we can do it the easier way, you know? But yeah, definitely no shame in that. Like,
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
That's great that they're making that more known amongst the community, that you're able to be vocal and seek help, as opposed to being vocal and then losing your job.
yeah, I mean, there is legality, right? And again, I'm only speaking from my personal experience, that I didn't reach out and say I need
Sure.
a treatment or anything, but I have seen individuals that, you know, were maybe, you know, in any field, not even just where I work, but, you know, maybe missing work or just
Yeah.
messing up, and then come forward and say like, hey, like, this is the reason why, then it's great. Like, we should help you out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That should be any person. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter, stay-at-home mom to.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing as if, and I want to really put this analogy out there, because mental health is no different than regular health. Addiction, actually, I can say this because it is diagnosed as a disease.
Yeah.
If I started missing work because I had cancer, and I hadn't told anybody yet, but I was feeling sick, I was overwhelmed, I started cancer treatment, hadn't told my bosses. This is any industry. There's no difference. I have to tell you guys, there's no fucking difference.
And there shouldn't be.
There shouldn't be any
There
difference.
shouldn't be, because it's
That's the stigma that the Hopeaholics are out trying to break, because there's no shame in having this disease. I didn't wake up in the morning, you know, or as a kid think I want to be a fucking drug addict someday. Never did I have that in my plan.
yeah.
But I am. I have that disease.
And there's a solution.
There's a
Thank
solution.
God.
Yeah, there is a
And
solution.
we can change our lives. It's treatable. It's actually more treatable than most cancers. It's not curable, because if it was curable, I could go out and recreationally use some meth tomorrow,
Me too.
right?
Yeah. We'd never come back. We'd be on
Be on an adventure.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, hear me out, bro. I found a unicorn.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to take us to a
Yes.
really cool place.
But first, let's take apart this car.
Have you seen the inside of a toaster?
Yeah.
I used to be a VCR repairman. That's how old I am. Do you know what that is?
I do know what a VCR. Yeah, I do. Yeah. Like I said,
I've had guests on that don't.
That's true.
oh man, if you the meth delusions are something that I learned very early on
Yeah.
as a
I'm
kid.
the king. Oh, because your dad.
Because my dad.
Where's
yeah.
your dad
So,
now?
but a quick question before you answer that question.
Sure.
You can answer hers first and then answer mine. All three of your brothers, your dad?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And my older brother, fine, recreationally drinks. My younger brother still, just because of like health stuff, doesn't, you know. But neither of them, from what I've seen,
Yeah.
like had the, you know, just the gene
Yeah.
where it's like, you know, where it's just like, oh, like you can, you know, be really good at it and then be really bad at it,
Yeah.
you know. And it's like, who knows how that happens? We all grew up together, you know, saw the same stuff.
Sure.
Okay, so my father, my grandma just recently passed away on their side, and my grandpa's getting to the end of his life. So, you know, starting my young family, I kind of disassociated with that side of the family, especially when me and my wife moved out. But I've came back, you know, just to visit my grandfather and, you know, just talk, and actually got some really cool insight as of recently. But from what I've been told, my father was homeless, living in a truck, and now he's in an abandoned grocery store, probably about half mile away from our childhood home. You know, still just running and gunning,
Yeah.
using, you know. And like, you know, the problem, you know, for him was he was a good-looking, charismatic guy, right? And was good at making money.
Yeah.
Until the addiction took over and it just never went out. And then eventually that charisma goes away, the ability to talk your way out of any situation, and you keep getting kicked out. And the next thing you know, you're in, and it's just crazy because
that's the progression of the disease, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I saw it early on. I mean, I never saw a progression. Like, my earliest memories are him in the bathtub picking his skin apart, screaming bugs are ripping out.
Oh.
Yeah.
You go in there, there's blood in the tub, and like I said, it's crazy because, then it's church on Sundays with my mom, and like, I'm not telling the sad story. Like, we had an awesome, like, I never missed a meal. Sometimes it was breakfast for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but we never missed a meal. My mom busted her ass to make sure that we were well fed and loved and communicated with, But yeah, I mean, anybody that's been around anyone that uses stimulants, definitely those delusions are crazy. I mean,
I'm a recovering meth addict.
Yeah, I remember from the stories. Yeah.
I got good ones.
Yeah, it's weird, and my father telling me that, God talked to him. Our patio was possessed for a long time. Oh, I mean, I know everything there is to know about aliens because they were out there. And, you're just having a lot of age-inappropriate conversations with someone that's telling you about demon possession. Sure. When you're 7 or 8 and you're laying in bed all scared, so you're just like, something's wrong. The garage smells weird. There's plumes of smoke. Guys shake up a 2-liter bottle to make something that, like when we would go out with him, you're in a garage, and like, even at a young age, you're looking and you see like a biker and a guy from the neighborhood, and you even can put it together. You're like, these guys probably don't look friends. Like, they're probably here for like some other reason. And then he does this, and then you just start putting it together. And then my family on my mom's side did a really good job of like just always having our back. But, little things would come out and you would hear, and then you just start kind of putting it together. You're like, oh yeah, like you have like a serious problem.
Yeah.
Really interesting that your 2 brothers became police officers.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a testament though of how well your mom held it down, because that's a very, very difficult way to be brought up, not only for you guys, but also for her.
Absolutely.
Like, her mentality and her mindset is extremely strong, because that can break an individual just by themselves with no children, having their partner, slowly kind of going that route is really hard for an individual. So the fact that she was able to be so amazing with you guys, and look at all 3 of you are public servants.
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
Like, that is, talk about a blessing. And like the total opposite side of the coin of, you have this massive polar difference of what the disease, if it does get a hold of you, what it can do. And then the opposite, when you're able to acknowledge, hey, maybe this is something I shouldn't really be doing. And then yourself, as well as your older and younger brother, followed that path. I think that is exceptional, where just because you might have a parent or someone that's really, really close to you doesn't mean that you have to go down the same avenue.
Absolutely. I've read a lot into it, and I remember my brother first became a police officer. An ex-girlfriend of him had got like a book, and I just like read it on the nightstand. It was even well before I was a firefighter, and I remember just finding it really interesting. And they talk a lot about first responders, military, family trauma, and it's basically, they call it like the helper personality. And that like helper mentality, I think a lot of us have either been around chaos or felt out of control. And what a better satisfying feeling that someone dials this magical number and it's chaos, and you're like, nah, dude, I got it. And looking back, on how I became a firefighter, it's what bothered me, is I could not bring that calmness to the chaos, So I think a lot of people, if they would look and examine, like, how did I end up in this career? Like, it's probably because of some form of like, I can control this, right?
Yeah.
I had an incident. It was about 7 months ago. I'm third car from a light, and some lady. So I'm right here. Some lady's coming, making a right. She's coming 60, 70 miles an hour. I'm see her taking the turn. I'm thinking, there's no way. She runs and she flips the curb, runs into the 2 cars in front of me, and smoke, airbags go off, and yeah, bro. I mean, I was just Johnny on the fucking spot. I got out of my car. I went there. I opened her car. I started examining the area. Are you okay? I pull her out gently. I make sure there's no flames. I'm on the call with 911 like this, and I got 3 compliments.
When was this?
It was like 6-7 months ago, maybe 8 months ago.
And we're just hearing
Yeah,
about
I know.
I got 3
I'm like, are you kidding
compliments.
me?
I got 3 compliments
Emily,
from 3
Lewis, do
strange
you know
people
about
saying,
this?
"Hey, man, way to take control of that." And even the husband of the lady I pulled out of the car called and said, "Hey, wow, thank you. My wife said you were really." Even when the police showed up, they said you were better in helping my wife calm down and stay relaxed. The police were kind of cold about it. You know, like, we've done this 1,000 times. It's just do this, 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 and this. There's no feeling behind it. But
I
it
mean,
was an
that's-
exhilarating feeling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But think about it. I mean, that's not shocking that you would do that.
Yeah.
I mean, the courage to sit on here and week after week,
Yeah.
like, point out your flaws. Like, you're the type of dude that when something
Yeah, but
breaks
here-
off, you're going to help.
Yeah, but here's
That's
the
it.
thing. A few weeks before, I was in an altercation where this guy was cut me off in a car, and they were about to get out, and I completely, my adrenaline took over, and I was just, I couldn't even move. Do you know what I'm saying? So I had 2 opposite reactions to 2 incidents. One where I was personally maybe in danger and I kind of froze a little bit. The other one where someone else was and I was fucking right there. I don't know why.
Well, thank God you didn't act on beating somebody up.
That's, you know what?
Yeah,
like,
that's true. That's true.
I mean, dude,
I
I
drove away.
straight up say that's God having your back right there.
Yeah, okay, all right.
He goes, hey, I got a savage right here that's down to help, and I'm going to take it away. Like, I'm going to freeze up his hands. Like,
Yeah,
if you don't believe that that's the way that
Wow,
the big man
thanks.
upstairs
Appreciate
works,
it. Yeah,
that's
yeah, I
how
was
it works.
frozen.
Sometimes he goes, you have more people to help.
Yeah.
I'm pulling you out.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
you're out of this game
Yeah.
because I got you over
I could
here.
barely step on the gas to drive away. Like I was just, no strength. Like just I was scared. It was just the adrenaline was going. It was nuts. Yeah.
We're gonna have to talk about all this stuff
know.
offline. 'Cause
Yeah, it sounds like it.
we
Like,
like
what?
literally spend
Yes.
as much time as you do with your boys together, the 3 of us. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm with them more than I'm with my family.
Same.
And that's a fact.
Oh yeah. For sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. You,
yeah.
God, yeah.
Literally, her husband lives in Texas. I had one last thing that I really wanted to talk to you about because your last name is Carlson.
Yes.
My last name is Carlson. Mine is spelled slightly different than yours. Where is the origin of your last name?
So I was told, my grandma, I guess it's, originally it's S-E-N. That's
Yours is?
No. That's the origin of the name.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's how it's like.
That's mine.
Apparently supposed to be spelled and then maybe get Americanized somewhere.
Oh,
But I mean, my grandma always would say that she's like Swedish.
Swedish. That's
Yeah.
where it comes from.
Yeah.
I mean, a
so-
lot of times people, when they would come over from different countries, would then Americanize the last name.
Yeah.
I know that, like, that's what happened with my father, changing it completely, like, from an Italian last name and making it something more Americanized. And then it gets kind of, like, shuffled up over here. So that makes sense, because you guys spell yours differently,
Well,
right?
mine is, but there is a reason. So mine is actually Danish.
Oh.
So my dad is Danish, and the S-E-N is Danish people.
Okay.
The S-O-N is almost always Swedish people.
Interesting.
Interesting.
There's a few other spellings of Carlson. There's actually a K-A-R-L-S-O-N and E-N, and then there's an S-S, and they're all Norwegian, though.
Okay, so for anybody that is listening and hears your story, what advice would you give them?
So, like many others, I think a daily process, right? So every time in my life that I've been doing physical activity, following a goal, and just focusing on moving forward, I just don't have the ability to let the other stuff go, right? And so when I first stopped drinking, I told myself that, hey, you're kind of having a rough time. This isn't fun. You're having a lot of anxiety, a lot of anger. And I was like, you know what? You might as well get in great shape, right? I mean, I already like worked out like a dog,
Yeah.
but I had another 30 pounds of fat on me, you know? And I was like, well, let's do a this for that, right? So I might as well. So I really started diving back into every time that I've been focused, right? And that was through martial arts. That was through getting the firefighting job. That was through doing the personal training. And so I just dove into my nutrition and started saying, hey, what can I control on a daily basis, right? Like, what does a high value person control? And that's their actions. And that's also what they put in their body, right? And that's in the form of your community, the things you're listening to, the positive and negative people, and also the food, right? So especially in an industry like mine, you're already exposed to high levels of stress, no sleep, or just anyone in general, right? There's just a lot of toxic things out there. And it's like, I give the analogy to people that I work with that it's like, if you came to me and you said, hey, I've just been sick all week. And I'm like, what have you been doing? And you're like, oh, well, I drink a cap of bleach 3 times a day. Right? And then anyone would look at you and go, hey, bro, like, it's probably the bleach. Like, stop, right? Well, if you're on the Cheetos and Mountain Dew diet, you're kind of poisoning yourself, right? And so my wife was super hip on the organic food thing as soon as my kids were born, and that wasn't the way that we were raised, and started looking into, no artificial food dyes and anxiety in kids and behavioral issues. And now we're starting to find out that that's actually affecting adults as well. So number one was just giving myself these daily things that I'm going to do. I'm going to make my food. I'm going to get in good shape. And at least I have something to lose, right? I have something to like, okay, like I've got this far. Let's give myself something to lose. And then now let's just focus back in on the workouts. And I noticed when I would go in, I started feeling better. I started lifting heavier for longer, getting in better shape. But the biggest thing for me was the dinner bell would ring and it's like, I want to have a drink, right? And I would go to the gym maybe in the afternoon or the morning, and I would tell myself, hey, bro, you don't have an outlet anymore. You don't have a way to relieve stress, so you better lay it out on the table right here. And the times I wouldn't work out like a dog, I would come home with anxiety. And so now it's writing my own program, and it's, you are going to charge super hard. And then the third thing was, I know I spoke on not really telling everyone at the firehouse this, but I got a mentor. I reached out, and one of the guys on our shift was 10 years sober.
Oh, that's awesome.
And did the whole AA process. And he actually, without naming any names, he actually reached out through the department and he did the whole thing to where he got the help through them, right? So he's a testament to that can work. And now he's promoting through the ranks, and he's an awesome guy. But really, like, finding the right mentorship is so huge. And I tell people, find a mentor for someone that you like envy their life. Like this individual, beautiful wife, beautiful kids. You can't find anyone on the job that would say anything bad about him. Excellent at his job. I'm like, dude, this is the guy you want to pour your heart out to because you envy him, right? And so, yeah, that's in the last year, I really just thought to myself, firefighting is amazing. I love it, but I want to be able to put out positive information. I felt like I was drowning, and I had nutrition and exercise information. And for the first time in my life, I followed it. And then I also gave up alcohol, and it made things a lot easier. And sure, like working out, looking good is one thing, the aesthetic thing, but it's really about that removal process in your brain, right? And it's like, I wake up in the morning, I'm anxious. I can be pissed off. I can think that I'm no good, but at least I can stack that small daily win, right? And when I go and work out like a dog, I come out in front of the gym and a little breeze hits my face, and I'm grateful for it. A cold glass of water, I'm grateful for. And I think, man, I was just gone for an hour and a half from my family. I can't wait to go home and see them. And it's like a removal process. And so I just thought to myself, I was like, this is working for me. Let me reach out. Again, mentorship, people that are in this space. How can I, with my busy schedule, provide to work with people to obviously help them aesthetically, but more than anything, like create a community of people that just want to do better. And it's not just sober up. It could be mental health. It could be anything, right? It could just be breaking generational curses, that's why I have my moniker, right? It's like, I know my family's curse. I know that drugs and alcohol have plagued my family forever. And now I'm the one that stops it. And if it's something for you, if it's food or gambling or womanizing or your weight or self-doubt, it's like, we all can follow these daily processes and stack small wins. And then the next thing you know, you look in the mirror and you're like, I like this dude. This guy's cool, you know? And it's been monumental in my life. It's always what's gotten me to move the most forward. And it's like, I just wanted to put it out there that there's people out there that have seen the way. I've used mentorship my whole entire life. And now I have a little bit of an expertise. And it's like, I don't know everything, but I want to be there with someone and be able just to build like a community, like an army of savages for dudes that are out there that are just like, man, I feel lost. I don't like what I'm seeing. I don't like what I'm doing. And it's been therapeutic for me. It really has, because I'm diving in with these people. And every time I think I'm a weirdo and have a problem, someone's hit me up and it's like, bro, like, this is what I'm struggling with. And you're like, oh,
Me too.
me too. You know, he's like, oh, you do this, so you obviously don't deal with this problem. And I'm like, oh, big dog, let me tell you, like, that's how I wake up in the morning. You know what I mean? Like, I have these fears and everything, just like everyone else does. And so I just think it's huge to get out there like you guys are doing and to say, if you're not where you want to be, whatever it may be, you don't have to stay there. You don't have to be drowning. Like, we can live a healthy, happy, positive life. And is everything perfect? God, no. But there's more, you know, and I'm pumped that there's more.
I love that.
And I agree. I've changed my thing. 80% of America is suffering from mental health, and they're struggling, and they're using food, they're using porn, they're using all something. They're using negative vices to get through the day just to make themselves okay. And we need guys like this, guys like us, to help these people. I'm one of them. Well, not the porn part. Marin, if you're listening to this far. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? I mean, everyone needs help.
Yeah.
We need that.
Everyone needs mentorship.
Everyone needs
Oh, for
mentorship,
sure.
bro.
Everybody.
Needs,
and that's the thing. And that's where I'm in this journey of my process, is really trying to remove my ego.
Yeah.
And it's like, I've had great mentors my whole entire life, you know,
Yeah.
like people that have taught me how to do things
100%.
quickly.
Yeah, bro.
But it just takes being like, hey, like, I'm willing to reach out for a little bit of help. And it's like,
That's really all. That's the first step, is the acknowledgement that you might have an issue or something's going on, and then to reach out for that mentorship or for that actionable next step of what you can do, you know, from whether it's that change of something, so that you're not just staying in the woe's me, because that's really easy to do. Staying in
Absolutely.
like this mentality of I should be like this, or my life was so hard, regardless of how people were raised. Because once you get to 18 and you're out of your parents' house, or you're now an adult, it's time to buckle up, and you have to resolve and be your own advocate for your mental health and for your well-being, because there's no way that you can be a giving or even solid participant into business, into friendships, into marriage, all of the above, if you're not fully solid yourself and still using past as an excuse for bad behavior.
absolutely.
You know?
You said the woe is me thing. I love that. That resonates hard with me, because it's like, how many times, you know, I can say in my life or other people, I don't know if it's the same with you, that you're just like, it's going to be so, everyone's going to know if I fail. If I take this swing, so I might as well just not do it, right?
Right.
Like, I already suck, you know? And it's like, no, you don't suck. You just haven't even started yet. You know what I mean? So find someone that's started, reach out, right? But it's like, yeah, there's only you are going to be able to do that work.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And like, the more that you guys do this and put on just awesome, cool people that are humble, more people can hear that. You know what I mean? Every single one of us loves Batman, but no one wants to watch their family get smoked in front of them.
Right.
Right. But it's like, if he was here, he would talk about that pain and like why he became a superhero. Right.
Exactly.
So it's like, yeah, it's been a journey, but
It's worth it, because now you're able to speak on it. And that's why. And that's why we go through all the pain and the hurt to get to the other side, which is the joy and the triumph, and then the experience to share it with somebody else and give to them what was so freely given to you.
that's just put a thumbnail on that one. That one's going to be on the reel. That was hard.
Mark that.
Yeah. Mark that one.
All right, man.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.